Hello YouTube, Osmani9 Slicer here. Uh, Gonna do episode 2 for the Cryo cores. This one's gonna be over the generals, which those of you who have done the research, you know that there are 3 generals. You've got Grunard, Gontala, and Ryo. I would dig out my Grunard, but I'm a little sleepy right now because just got back from Super China Buffet with my girlfriend, who's laying over there. But just look up Grunard if you need to, but I'll show the other two, seeing as I do have them decked. First off, Grunard, for him, if I remember, he has 2800 attack, and basically he gives you an extra normal summon every turn, which is helpful for some of the effects of the Ice Barrier, considering the fact that some of them require another Ice Barrier for their effect to be active. For example, Dance Princess, you've got Defender, few others as well, but those are the big ones that you'll use it for. Grunard's okay. He's a 2 tribute. That's level 8. Pretty strong, but not the best in my opinion. Then let's do General Ryo of the Ice Barrier. He's in my opinion, the second best one. He helps lock down monster effects, which is very helpful for this deck. As well, you've got some fun little shenanigans you can do with him, especially when your opponent ends up with no hand eventually. As well, you can play off of him with Lad, which was fun. I detailed that in my previous video. The most important one, which a lot of Ice Barrier players are starting to agree on, is General Gontala of the Ice Barrier. Big thing with him, for most of the meta style builds, he becomes a 1 tribute, which makes him real easy to get out. But the fact that he can pull stuff out of the graveyard from that point on during the end phase, which allows for all sorts of interesting plays. For example, you can go from having some basic setup to locking down your opponent in some form, for example with Daisojo, or by locking them by attacking like with Defender. The other big thing is there's no level restriction, which allows you to start pulling out the other generals or to bring back your synchros if they get hit the graveyard, which is very helpful. The big card that made the generals even more viable now that we got, which was Prior of the Ice Barrier, basically becomes a Monster Reborn for them, which can also be salvaged, which is a big deal. As well with Prior, he allows you to fulfill that condition of having another Ice Barrier on your side of the field on a regular basis, which makes him very, very, very good for us. But back on Gontala, he basically does everything that Grunard does and more, at a cost of basically 100 attack points. So really, he's the one that you should be focusing on. He works really well with, for example, Strategist. Basically, you'll get that draw, and at the end phase, you'll get an extra monster. He works really well with Warlock as well. Basically, you go from being able to use everything to stopping your opponent during their next turn. One of the simpler combos that I've done in the past, and for some reason they really like on Pojo, which is the Samurai combo, where every turn you have him blow up and you get an extra draw. And then he'll come back, you'll get to do it next turn, and just so on with that. My big combo is to pull out Daisojo off of his effect, which makes him that much harder to get rid of, especially if you've got their attacks already locked down. Let's see here. Those are the big combos overall with those cards, except when you start talking about synchros. For example, you can have Gungnir fuel him, and you can have Brionac fuel him. For me in my deck, the big thing for him is simply the fact that he becomes a big beat stick with Umiruka on the field at being at 3200, which lets him run over the vast majority of cards in the game right now. As well, while combining him with everything else, while still having the Call of the Haunted thing going on with your Lord, it lets you get out a whole bunch of extra monsters each turn. You're talking 3 additional monsters per turn if you have a Gondola plus 1 Call of the Haunted. If you're talking 2 Call of the Haunted like I run, you are talking 4 additional monsters in 1 turn, which sets up your field ridiculously fast. So basically, that's the general overview of the generals. They're relatively simple, but their big things about them is they allow you to better provide the field that you need to lock everything down, and that they also have a pretty good attack. So either way, I'm Honest 89 Slicer signing out.